So it's the 4th of July, and growing up, we used to do 4th of July fireworks at the Bay House on Blackwater Bay. But this year in particular, we were at the condo in Navarre Beach with Bo and his siblings and the rest of his family. And so Jackson went over the bridge onto the mainland, as they call it. And there's this big pop-up firework tent. It's got a giant raccoon blown up in front of it. So naturally, Jackson and his significant other, Julia, they're kind of drawn to this, we'll call it coon fireworks, I think was the name of it. And so they go and they get a big box, and it's got, some of the mortars, some of the fountains, and it's got one of the boxes that looks like a fountain, but it has several little mortars in it. And I was excited. We get down there, we were eating, I think we were eating dinner and then playing some Catan. We were like, look, they're going to go through and they're going to shoot off these fireworks off the pier at 9:00, which is like, pretty close to where we're at. So let's get down there a little early. We can shoot ours off. And then, whatever the city of Navarre has in store, we can let that be kind of the finale. So unfortunately, we were running late. Got down there about 15 minutes before the show started, and really tried to blow through as many fireworks as we possibly could. And this is, we're lighting them off on the beach, which, on any other day would not be acceptable. But on 4th of July, you look up and down the beach, there is every single person that's on the beach is lighting off fireworks. So for those who have never been to this particular situation or have never celebrated the 4th of July, everybody's complicit. You know what I'm saying? It's not just us out there breaking the law or something like that. So we get out there and we're having fun and we're shooting off a couple mortars and having a tough time because our little lighter sticks the wind is just howling. So it just keeps blowing the flame out. And so we get through about 70% of our little stash and the city fireworks start up. So, we kind of pause a little bit, and even while the city show is going on, we light off a couple of the fountains and smaller ones and stuff like that. And then, the city wrapped up about 30 minutes later, and there was still people shooting off fireworks. And so we figured, hey, let's finish up let's finish up what we got. We don't want to let it go to waste. So we're out there, and a lot of people have cleared out, honestly, because they're there for the big fireworks show off the pier. And we get the box that has several little mini mortars in it. And, I'm wearing a big, a long sleeve digi camo shirt that says "Freedom Ain't Free" on the back. It's about as American as it gets. And we go to light off one of these. We go to light off one of these little boxes that has the miniature mortars in it. And first off, obviously these are Chinese fireworks. So we're having a real tough time kind of deciphering what direction we even point up. You know what I'm saying? So Bo comes along, reads the instructions, and figures it out. And, we lit it the first time, and we had no clue if it was going to shoot out the side. We had a good thought of where they were going to go, up, hopefully. But we had no clue. So what we did is we buried it. So if it did come out of the side, it would just shoot into the ground and, somewhat protect everybody in the general area. And thankfully it did. It shot up, and it was the best. It was honestly the best firework in the whole box. And then we were looking through and we had another one. So we said, oh, great. We repeated the process. We pointed the same direction up. We buried it. around the other sides, so that it was stable and safe. And we light it, and the first one goes about 5 feet in the air, and it explodes, sending fireballs 360 degrees at eye level, which is terrifying. So the first one goes off, and we see it just barely, bloop, just barely kind of plop out of the little thing, and it explodes, like I said. And we all turn and run because we're like, this is a defective firework. This is not going to end well. So what we didn't know is on that first one, whenever it exploded, it actually ripped the box in half. So half of the box was no longer buried, but laying on its side, pointed at the condos and the dunes. And we're like, run! And so we're running away from this thing. Jackson trips and falls, and Bo knees him in the face while they're running away. I was walking away, but I had my back turned towards the fireworks because, if one or two of them ended up going up, I wanted to see it. I love to see fireworks. So I was kind of slowly walking away with my back turned, but I was looking back trying to see, hey, maybe one or two of these things is going to be a hit. And a hit it was. Essentially like 5 or 6 more fireworks go off, and they basically like dribble out of the side of this fireworks box and just explode on the ground. Like I said, just sending fireballs in 360 degrees. And so it finally stops, and we're like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. We feel bad because there's like people around, in the general area who are like running away. And there's literally nothing we could have done differently. I mean, we buried it. We were as safe as possible. We pointed in the correct direction. The fireworks just self-imploded and decided to, essentially try to demolish everything. So we're like, oh man, that was terrible. People are like, wiping the brow. Whew. And then, this whole time, every time we send fireworks up, we've got people in the condos on their balconies who are cheering us on. Yeah, that was great, encore. But after that one, there was like a 5-second silence where we all looked around. Oh man, that was a close one. And all we hear from the balconies is, fire, fire, fire. And I'm like, oh no, we caught one of these freaking condos on fire, dude. I'm sure speaking for myself, my heart just sunk down into my stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, we started some crazy fire. And I look over, and there's a trash pile where people had, all their empty boxes from the fireworks and everything like that. And one of the boxes had caught on fire. So that's pretty minor. So I just walk over to it, kind of drag it out into the sand. I'm like, maybe I'll like kick some sand on it or something like that. But I had it isolated. I was like, I don't know why these people are freaking out so bad. Like, it's a tiny little fire, I know what I'm doing. And so right before I go and kick sand on it, this kid runs up with like a gallon jug of water and just douses it, and he's sweating. He's breathing heavy. I'm like, all right, dude, you got it. Good job. Good job. And then I hear another one to your right. To your right. It's fire, fire. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more stuff that's on fire. And so I run up on top of this dune, and you've got all this super dry grass that's growing on the dunes, helps them hold their shape and whatnot in storms. And this grass one of the fireballs has found its way in the middle of this dry grass. And it is, I get up there, and it's probably a 3 or 4 foot flame at the top of this grass. And so I'm just like, oh. Thankfully, Jackson had already ran up to the top of the to the dunes, and he's like kicking sand on it. He really did a fantastic job, but there was 2 different fires going on the dune. And so he runs up there and he's kicking sand on it. He gets one of them down. The guy that had put out my fire had ran back into the Gulf, filled up his jug again, and they went back and they're dousing it. And there was like a solid, it was probably a solid 2 minutes where we were like, all right, we got it. And then someone from the balcony was like, there's another one. And they would like, call it out to us where they saw like a little flame or ember or whatever. And we had to go and put them out. But there was probably 4 or 5 different little fires that we had set off there. And, it was not fun. At one point we were like kicking sand on one of the fires. And there was a guy on the balcony. He was like, just pee on it, dude. Just pee on it. But it was fun. I mean, you look back on it, you're like, wow, that was exciting. And the excitement didn't last too long because we put the fires up pretty quickly. But soon after we heard some fire trucks, sirens in the distance. So we figured probably best to go up, loudly talk about what floor we're staying on. Incorrectly, of course. Yeah. Oh, can't wait to get up to the 12th floor back to our condo in 12B, try to see if we can, take some of the heat off of us, so to speak. So I had a fun time with it. Bo, I don't know if you have anything to add from your perspective. That was, there's so many different sides to a story, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it as well.
Yeah. As the lighter of the defective firework, I lit it. I ran away just because I didn't want to blow in my face, but I was standing there, and then, like you said, the first one explodes at eye level. So I take off about a quarter mile down the beach. I'm like, get me away from here. I don't want any part of this. And like you said, it was a good, solid few seconds where we thought everything was okay. I mean, obviously, it was a defective firework, but you do hear fire from the balcony from multiple people, and you think, oh my goodness, we've just started a fire. And that's not a great feeling, because to be quite frank, I'm not a pyromaniac, and I don't think you are either. And so, how awesome was it that there was those gentlemen ready with the gallons of water just to toss on it? It was unbelievable.
Pretty huge, honestly.
I will comment on that 4th fire that we spoke of, the last fire. It was what caught on fire was a box with live fireworks in it.
It was ours.
And so none of them got shut off, but you can see how that could have been problematic. And go for it.
I was going to say the guys that helped us extinguish the fire, they were like, who lit that off? I was like, I don't know, some idiots that don't know what they're doing, probably. And then, like you said, the last fire, I totally forgot about that, was our box that had a couple smaller fireworks in it. And a piece of the box had caught on fire, and they doused it. They were like, man, these idiots left their box hanging around with a bunch of fireworks. I'm like, oh my goodness, how dumb could you possibly be? Once they were out of sight, we're like, go back and grab the rest of our fireworks. But dude, I didn't know where you went. Me and Jackson were putting out fires on the dunes, and you, to be honest, you took off. I mean, you were at Portofino in about 2 minutes. I was like, Bo's probably already back up in the condo eating, blackberry cobbler. He's like, oh, what's all the commotion down there, guys? Oh my gosh, who did that? What's all the commotion?
Yeah, I didn't have a good feeling about it. I could have beat anybody in a 200-meter dash after that. Now, whenever the firefighters came, I mean, we basically should have gotten badges of honor, medals of honor for saving the condos.
Right, right.
But we got no recognition for that.
Yeah, I don't
But
know
I
what
do
kind of
wanna-
recognition you get when you start the fire and then help to put it out. But I think you probably deserve something, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe a little
something.
Firehouse Subs plastic fireman hat or something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. We do need to give a special shout out to those gentlemen. Seriously. Just having water, because that flame, I mean, the people were saying they could start smelling the fire from their condos, from the dunes. And that's just a dangerous game you don't want to play too often. You know, maybe once a year is okay, but I don't think we'll be returning to Coon fireworks anytime soon.
Yeah, that's correct. I've got some contacts over in Alabama where we can get some reputable fireworks. So,
Yeah. I'm trying to think. After all that commotion, we moved down probably 200 yards down the beach and shot the rest off. And we did not set anything else on fire. So that was good.
I will say there were some officers of the law that were on the boardwalk where the fire had happened, and they were shining their flashlights in the general area where no one was anymore, because we had moved down 200 yards to we were like 3 condos over. We were like, there was a fire? Seriously? That's crazy. I hadn't heard that. You walk by, you're like, dang, smells like someone had a fire. I mean, it's fireworks, you know? I guess that makes sense. But yeah, we totally evaded them. We were way smarter than they were. They had no clue. But that's just fleeing the scene 101.
Well, you're familiar with that if you remember your morning runs whenever you evaded the police at all times.
Yeah. And the key is you've got to blend in, right? Like I was talking about, like move down to a different area, but continue what you're doing, because if you run away holding fireworks and you're like obviously fleeing the scene, they're going to be like, those are the guys. But if you just keep doing it, it's almost like reverse psychology. They're probably thinking, no way, these guys are dumb enough to keep shooting off fireworks. So that can't be them. But it was us. And we didn't get caught. So I'm hoping that there are no Santa Rosa County sheriffs that listen to this podcast. But look, it was a defective firework. We obviously didn't try to catch the dunes on fire. One of the ladies from the balconies was like, be responsible. I'm like, you're going to yell at me to be responsible while there's a fire down here that I'm trying to fight? You think I tried to light the dunes on fire? But in my mind, I could just see this, I could just see this fire just with the breeze. I mean, it's right there on the Gulf, so there's wind all the time. I thought that fire was just going to catch that grass with that wind and just freaking carry all the way down to Pensacola Beach. Like the entire dune system is just on fire. That really would have been bad.
Yeah, then we would have nowhere to run.
Yeah.
Which would have been a problem. But it's definitely memorable, no doubt about it. And if our listeners haven't caught on, we were with one another that week, because we were with one another during 4th of July. And that just begs the question, how have the past 7 days been for you?
They've been really good, man. Molly and Stetson flew up to Pensacola on Monday morning I think their flight left at 6. So I dropped them off at SRQ at 4, maybe 4:15. And so I'm thinking to myself, look, I helped them unload to the check-in area. By the time I leave the airport, it's probably 4:45. So I'm thinking I could go back to the house and sleep for maybe 30 minutes, and then I'm going to have to turn right back around and come to town. So I could do that, or I could just get a McGriddle and go into the office at 5. So that's exactly what I did. So Monday was a long day, started early, had a lot of meetings, and there was a couple times throughout the day where I legit caught myself kind of falling asleep a little bit. So not proud of that, but we made it through the day. And then Tuesday was kind of a normal day, a lot of meetings, but afterwards I was mainly just trying to get the house ready because I was leaving Wednesday morning super early. Trying to get the house ready to be vacant for a week pretty much. So doing dishes, taking out the trash, making sure there's no food laying around, stuff like that. And then Wednesday I had a 6:30 flight out of Orlando. So that involved me waking up at 1:30 in the morning, getting ready, leaving the house at 2, getting to my parking service at 4, and then it was like a 20-minute transfer over to the airport. So got to the airport like 4:30 for a 6 o'clock flight, and then security. You never know with Orlando being such a big airport. You never know it's going to be crazy security or not. So got there at 4:30. Really made it through security in like 15 minutes. So kind of had 45 minutes to an hour to chill out, read a book until boarding started. So, but the reason, you may ask, why didn't you fly out of SRQ or even Tampa? Because it's closer. That flight out of Orlando was a Spirit flight. Do you want to guess? I think I told you how much it was. Would you like to inform everyone how much this flight cost me?
Yes. It's going to be 70 divided by 2 times 1.
That's right. $35 from a flight from MCO to PNS. So yeah, I mean, it's great because it's cheap. You get in early, so you still got the whole day. I never like flying, where you get in at lunchtime because you feel like you waste the day. I'm taking PTO for it, so you might as well, even if you got to wake up at 1:30 in the morning, which I don't really mind. You get there at 7 Central. No brainer. I mean, these people, y'all aren't even awake yet. Nobody's had breakfast, so you're really starting the day in a great spot. So Wednesday got in and went into Milton to have some breakfast with my family. Trevor and Taylor were in town. Obviously, they live in Milton now, so got to see them. Hadn't seen them in a long while, so that was really, really good. After breakfast, went back out to the condo, and for the next day and a half, 2 days, it was condo living. Going to the beach, coming up from the beach, taking a nice shower. There's really no better feeling than being out in the sun for 3 or 4 hours on the beach and then having just a short little walk up to the condo, take a bath, and then you just, you're sun-kissed, you feel clean. There's all kinds of food, golly, and there's more food than you could even imagine. And so you just kind of scavenge, just cruise the countertops. Oh, do I want chips and salsa? Do I want a cookie? Do I want a biscuit left over from breakfast? Maybe some bacon. Yeah, you really just can't beat it. You can't beat it at all. What did we do Wednesday night? Was that the night we went to Felix's? Wednesday?
We Felixed on Wednesday.
We Felixed, that's right. We went to, and Felix's is on Pensacola Beach, which is I don't know, maybe 20-minute drive from Navarre Beach. So we went up there and we got some oysters and some other miscellaneous seafood that was really delicious. And then, I feel like we had some sort of dessert that night, but I can't remember what it was. What was dessert Wednesday?
How could you forget? It was s'mores.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We had there's like a smokeless or some little device that your dad was gifted, or basically it's like a little tabletop where there's a fire and you can do s'mores on it. So I had 2 or 3 s'mores. I know you had several more than that. Patty, she loves her s'mores burnt.
Marshmallows.
And I'm going to be honest, marshmallows. I'm going to be honest, she was more of a fire hazard than we were on the 4th of July. I mean, that flame was probably comparable to that fire we had out on the dunes. But look, everybody's alive, everyone's safe. She enjoyed her s'mores, so that's all that matters. Thursday, which was the 4th of July, woke up, had breakfast. I think we just had leftover biscuits and gravy and sausage, stuff like that for breakfast. Went down to the beach for a quick morning little beach trip. I love the morning beach trips because, a lot of the folks haven't, set up their stuff. They're not playing all the crazy music. It's nice and calm. The water's flat. It's just really very peaceful. So we went down to the beach Thursday morning, and then for lunch, we went to my grandparents' place in East Milton for lunch, and I think we headed back out to Navarre maybe around 5 or 6 that evening. But like I said, the fireworks, we kind of gave you the whole spiel there. I mean, there's really no other tea other than us, being a little. You know what? I was going to say irresponsible, but we weren't even irresponsible. We did everything in our power to keep that from going sideways. And, sometimes the fireworks do what the fireworks want to do. And then Friday, we did another quick little beach trip, and then came into Milton and hung out with my family. I'm trying to think what we did Friday. Do you know what we did Friday?
You left around 10, 11-ish. You went to your grandparents'. Maybe you went to a shower of sorts. Maybe a pool party of sorts.
The shower was on Saturday. I think Friday we just had, I just hung out at my parents' place. We had tacos that night with some taco dip, which is unbeatable. It's unmatched. And then Saturday, you're right, we did breakfast at my mom's place. And then the shower was at 10. So Stetson and Molly were at the shower. Me and Trevor went with my uncle and one of his friends from out of town. They were all in for the shower. So we went out and shot some clay pigeons and pistols and stuff like that. So, kind of honed in the skills a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. So, after that, we got Laha for lunch. I know you're probably jealous of that, dude. Because Laha is, and I'm going to say it here, it's different than Chewy's, so I'm not even going to put them in the same category. They're not Tex-Mex. They are Mexican food. It's not authentic. It's Americanized Mexican food, but it's so good, dude. So good. And I don't know if you're a Laha hater or not, but I love it so much. And it was just a blast from the past.
I will say it is
nostalgic.
Yes, a nostalgia play. Laha, I mean, go to your any Mexican restaurant, specifically Las Margaritas. It blows Laha out of the water. But again, it's different. It's different food.
I would disagree. I've been to Las Margaritas maybe twice, so I haven't really journeyed through the expanse of their entire menu. But I will say I've got to go to a La that has yet to be beaten by Las Margaritas. I'll say that.
Well, that's just a point we disagree on, and that's okay. You know, I think we love Mexican food a lot, and I've eaten at Las Margaritas a lot more than you have. And it's more comparable to the amount of times I've eaten at La Hacienda. But again, I want you to be safe in your opinion, and I respect your opinion. And I'm not here to say that Laha is terrible. I'm just here to say that me personally, I enjoy Las Margaritas better.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we can both, like you said, we can both have our own opinions on this, and that's probably
and
for
at
the best.
at the end of the day, I want our listeners to hear that we love Mexican food. And you're only passionate about things you love. And so if we didn't love Mexican food, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So thank you, Mexico, for your food.
Shout out Mexico. Got Laha for lunch, and then that afternoon, pretty much my whole family from my mom's side came over for a pool party. We got some Hungry Howie's, which Hungry Howie's slaps. It's better than Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's. That's another opinion that I have. It's tight with Pizza Hut, but I still think it's better. And we just swam in the pool for a long time, late into the night. And then today I had to get up early and go to the airport, and we flew into Orlando and then drove back. So I will say, shout out Stetson. He did a fantastic job on the plane. We did get him his own seat because he's getting a little too big. Yeah. Give it up for him. He's getting a little too big for the plane, to be sitting in one of our laps. So we got him his own seat, and he really excelled. He did. We read books. We colored. Drank a lot of milk. I think he drank 2 bottles just because he was bored. But yeah, it was a great week. Honestly, one of the better weeks. I really love going up to the Panhandle to visit. The beach is always great. The food is always great. So it's just hard to beat.
That's really good to hear, man. I love that child. I'll tell you that much. It is, I think you summed it up, it's hard to beat times with your children. And the beach, I can't tell you, man. The beach is absolutely phenomenal. We need more of it in our lives.
I would agree. So yeah, that was my week. It was awesome, like I said. And a lot of it was spent with you. So I'd love to hear kind of your perspective on things, because I know you were in Navarre longer than I was, and that's, I think, mainly where you were. But yeah, go ahead, and I'd love to hear what your week looked like.
Yeah, I would love to share. I took time off of work. And I love my job. I absolutely love it. It's fulfilling. It's fantastic. The people are great. However, as I was sitting on the beach, I thought to myself, I think I could love my job and work remotely on the beach. At all times. Maybe not at all times. I love the people that I work with, and the people I interact with, the teams I get to be a part of. So I would miss that, absolutely. So if there was some way that you could bring those people to the beach, that would be even more optimal.
Right.
But the time off was fantastic, and what was even more fantastic is Wimbledon began, and that's the big tennis tournament in London, England, played on grass courts. And so many of my mornings were spent with a cup of joe prepared by my parents and Aunt Patty with a tennis match on. And that was just absolutely incredible. And I miss that. And I'm trying to recreate that at my home. But it's just not the same. I don't have the view of the water and the waves crashing upon the shore. I don't have the white noise going on where I can hear the waves. I don't have the sun rising across the sea in a beautiful, beautiful picture of majesty and glory. And so I tried this morning and it just did not work. And was it discouraging that it didn't work? That's a good question, because if I say yes, I think I would be taking my life here for granted. I mean, if my life was just a vacation at all times, there would be no such thing as a vacation. You know what I'm saying here? The absence of something creates the desire for it. Oh, talk to him. So the absence of time off, the absence of vacation, the absence of rest creates a desire for time off, vacation, and rest. And so it was just absolutely, again, phenomenal. I want to go back. In fact, I texted my family and I said, I want to go back. So I made it known. But Monday, Molly rolled in. As you said, you went to the airport with her, and Stetson, you took her. We picked her up from the airport, and then we went to the beach. And I love it. You're gonna hear me say, take me back, let's do it again. I wish I was there right now a lot, because that's currently what I'm feeling. Monday also was there, and we got to sit next to some absolutely incredible people, They're from Alabama. They liked their music loud, and they enjoyed to party. Now, you may be wondering, that sounds bad. That sounds weird. That sounds not like something you'd want to sit next to. But if you like people watching and love listening and eavesdropping, well, this is the time for you, because you got to hear a lot of stories, you got to hear a lot of plans, and you got to learn a lot about these people without even saying a word to them. Now, if I had to go back and do it again, which my desire is to do that again, I'd want to become friends with them. I had a brief conversation with one of the gentlemen that was sitting there, but he was talking about how he was pinned by an elderly woman the night before. And to be quite frank, I'm not too certain what that meant. So I just shared with him, my brother, that sounds a little painful. And he said, yeah, it was.
Does he mean
And so-
like Boy Scouts? Like he got pinned on his vest?
It must be. I mean, interesting cat. That's what I would describe him as. But again, like I said, if I were to do it again, I'd want to get to know all of them. It was a great group of family. It was a family vacation. But, and I think we can learn something from this, actually. Maybe not in the way they did it in an inappropriate fashion. But they managed to become friends with people all across the beach. They didn't know them before. They were bold in their desire for friendship. Now, the goal of their friendships, and I share this confidently because it was shared publicly and loudly. The goal of their friendships was to party together and to get drunk together and to talk to women together. And apparently get pinned by elderly women.
Which really, I mean, from what I've heard, is not really the demographic they were going after. So kind of an interesting, change of story there. But maybe that's why. Maybe that's the cause,
Yeah. That's the cost of doing business. I mean, beggars can't be choosers. And so sometimes you wind up in an interesting situation. But again, I'm just continually reminded that we were next to each other for a reason, right? It wasn't coincidence. That's my point. And even more so my point, Brett, is oftentimes I felt the push to talk to them. I felt the push to request them to stop catcalling 15-year-olds. And I didn't act on it. And, when you reflect on that moment, you reflect on a missed opportunity. You, to be quite frank, reflect on disobedience. It's not a great feeling. And so I think it's a boldness thing. We've got to be bold. I think, in my mind, I was on vacation. Turn the brain off. Let things go. It doesn't matter. Wrong. That is a lifestyle centered around me. And quite frankly, that's not what I want in my life. I think sometimes that shows and sometimes that doesn't. But ultimately, if we're asking for boldness and we are given the opportunity to be bold and then we don't act on that opportunity, what are we other than hypocrites?
What does that conversation look like? Let's say a 13-year-old gal is walking along the shore. These fellas are playing their, bro country, so to speak. And they're whistling and catcalling. And you say, you know what? That's enough. That's the fifth one today. I'm putting my foot down. You walk over there to these fellas. What does this conversation look like? How does it start off for you?
How's it going?
No, pretty good. If you can imagine me with maybe a bush light in my hand.
They were on the Twisted Tea trains.
Okay. I've got a Twisted Tea in my hand. You just walked up to me. I'm blasting bro country. You say, how's it going? Pretty good, man.
What are you up to today?
Oh, just hanging with hanging with my boys, hanging
Where are you
with my
from, by
boys.
the way? Where are you from?
Oh, we're from Alabama. Roll Tide.
What are your thoughts
When
on
I
Nick
say Roll
Saban?
Tide, you say Roll Tide back to me. Roll
What are your
Tide.
thoughts on Nick? What are your thoughts on Nick Saban?
Well, Nick, he's up there next to Jesus for me personally. I wear a gold cross around my neck, but frankly, it should be an NS for Nick Saban. They're kind of right there next to each other for me personally. So
You mentioned Jesus and Nick Saban, and one, I totally get what you're saying, but if you'll allow me to ask, well, who is Jesus to you?
now I don't want to make any implications as to what their spiritual status was. You know what I mean? How do you think they would have responded to
Are
that?
you breaking character?
I'm breaking character here, yeah, for sure.
I'm just going with the flow of conversation, my brother.
No, I'm just
And-
saying, at what point do you say, what's up with hitting on the 12-year-olds?
I don't, that's not my approach. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a lay my foot down kind of guy. But I do think whenever you get to know somebody and you get to know what they value, then you can get into where's this part coming from? Where is the desire to connect with the 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds coming from? And what purpose does it serve? What is the ultimate goal? And so the conversation we just had was a little bit of getting into that.
Well, seemed like their values were, Alabama football and 10-year-old girls,
Yeah. And the thing is, I just don't think that's really them. I want to be careful with my words here. But if we just walk up to people and say, what you're doing is wrong, stop. Well, number one, I don't think they're thinking, and I could be wrong, but I don't think this man is thinking, this is right. This is perfectly morally correct. I think he might have a moral compass. I think he's just a little loose. But even if that's not the case, walking up and telling someone they're wrong, one, that's not my approach. Connecting on a level of friendship and then being empathetic, that is the approach that I want to take. I think in my mind I jump quickly to the judgment side of it. And I think the Bible clearly, well, actually I know the Bible clearly says be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger, and not that righteous anger. There is a righteous anger that is good, but what do we use that as a vehicle toward? Do we use that as a vehicle to lash out, or a vehicle to come alongside someone and kind of work toward course correcting? But always in a posture of connection and empathy is my desired approach, personally.
So I see what you're saying. You're going to maybe empathize with them. You're going to say, look, I'm on your side. I too am, I'm a minor attractive person. Maybe you would say that. But maybe, hey, can we just keep it to maybe some ladies that look like they might be of age? Like, you might be convinced of that. Like, let's leave the 8-year-olds out of it, you know?
Well, yes, let's leave the 8 years. Half of what you said is true. What you said about minor attracted is incorrect. However, I would accept minorly attractive. If you're calling me minorly attractive, I will take that as a compliment. And so, I don't think I would say, look, I'm right there with you. But I do think if we're talking about Jesus and who Jesus is to you, I think absolutely I fall short. I think minor attracted people, if you're not a minor and you are minor attracted, I think that's sinful. And well, specifically, if you're really acting on it like they were, and I think we can connect on a level of sin, right? Not necessarily the same exact sin and shame, but at the end of the day, we go back to what is the purpose, what is the goal? And again, I'm just assuming and guessing, but this is not the first time this has happened. And so, how do we feel about the last time it happened? And if it was fulfilling, well, I just don't see that happening. Otherwise, you would not be so pursuant. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. I just would not say that.
Fair enough.
But, yeah. That was an interesting conversation.
I'm glad you had it with them.
Well, that's my whole point, my friend, is I want it. It's just it's a shame. That's what I would say. Anyway. And if you, a listener, want to dive into that more, I'd be happy to discuss with you. But to be quite frank, we're running out of time, and so I have to continue. The week goes on, the days go on, the beach just continues to be beautiful. We go to Felix's. What did we do? Yeah, the s'mores were incredible. You shared the back half of that. Saturday, I returned home. Today, I went to the Home Depot and I bought some wood to alter my bed frame a little bit.
Ooh.
You know, I've hung curtains in my room, and my bed frame was hindering the flow of the curtain. And instead of cutting the curtain off, I hindered the bed frame. Or I altered the bed frame. My apologies. And then I went and played pickleball. Church was this morning as well. We had a former Navy SEAL and White House military chaplain speak at our church. And it was great. It was great to hear. He talked about the Good Shepherd. He continued the series in the I Am, where Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. But looking at Jesus as the greatest sacrifice, he shared a specific story where this team of men was killed, or one of them laid down his life for his friend in combat, and he was a Christian. But the rest of the other people were not Christians. Well, 17 months later, the whole team gets shot down in a helicopter. And so they all pass away. But within those 17 months, those men, some of those men, became Christians. And how beautiful is that? Is the death of one man created an opportunity for life for another. Sound familiar? Now, I'm not saying this man who sacrificed himself is Jesus, but I am saying the man who sacrificed his life for his friends prolonged his friends' opportunity to accept Jesus as his Lord. And God's timing is God's timing. So again, we're not here to decide when that was supposed to happen or not. But it did happen in between those 17 months. And it was just awesome. But we're back on the grind, my friend. We're back to work. Trying to get back into the rhythm and routine of things. But again, as I've said multiple times, I wish I was at the beach. That was my week. It was a great week spent with you, your bride, and your son, and my family. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's, like you said, I mean, we spent a lot of the week together, and whenever you go on a vacation, so to speak, and it's a lot of go to the beach, hang out at the condo, go to dinner, you know what I mean? It's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat, so to speak, and it's an incredible time. But, it's not always the most exciting of times. But we tried to spice it up a little bit by, catching the dunes on fire. So we did what we could to, bring some content. We do have a shout out to make, I believe, on the subscriber front, if you want to take that away.
Yeah. Well, number one, because of our dune catching on fire, we failed to create a cooking video. And so we apologize to our subscribers for that. We're going to make it up to you, I promise. But we want to celebrate something that has happened. This past week, we became self-sufficient. Shout out Patricia Peacher. Yes. She subscribed and she committed to deep and generous love. And we celebrate that. With every subscription, it's just more opportunity to love others deeply and generously. And that's what we're committed to here at the Quite Frankly podcast. And the more subscribers we have, again, we apologize for not holding up to our word this week, but I hope you understand with our pyrotechnical difficulties. We are going to make it up to you. And we appreciate our subscribers oh so much, because without our subscribers, I'll just be frank with you, it's very likely we would not exist anymore. Because cash flow is it's an important part of business. And for a while, we were not a for-profit or non-profit business. We were a debt business. And
that's right.
We're excited to be out of this. There's no doubt about it.
Only took us a year.
Yeah. And think about school. Our poor college students in this world, it takes them more than 1 year to get out of debt. Well, I'm not too sure. I think there was actually a change in policy where they can now get out of debt. But I know used to, it took a while to get out of debt. And how fortunate we are to have these people who love this podcast enough to help us get out of debt within a year. That is a community of deep and generous love if I've ever seen one.
No, it's like you said, it's huge. We were both there at the time that she subscribed, so it was really kind of a surreal moment because I've never been in the room when someone subscribes, and I don't want our listeners to think she was coerced or held at gunpoint or anything like that for us to do this, but she did it under her own volition, and it was really cool to see. So, big shout out to Patty Peacher. That's huge. Yeah, and with that shout out, I guess we'll roll into Song of the Week, if you had anything. You look like you're really struggling over there.
I'm debating.
You want me to go first? While
yes.
You decide? Okay, I can do that. I'll take one for the team here. My song of the week is I'm a Survivor by Reba McEntire. Just an absolute banger. Molly and Stetson, while they've been home for the summer, they've been watching a lot of Reba. Molly loves Reba. Stetson now loves Reba. And so, man, he perks up every single time he hears the song. He starts singing along. It's the sweetest little thing. But he loves it so much. And so every once in a while I'd play it this week and you could just see his eyes light up because it's, they play the song at the intro of the show and I'm sure he's heard it hundreds of times this summer. But yeah, he loves it. It's a great song, super catchy. So we're going to throw that on the album there.
That's truth. And I love that he loves it. I'll tell you, man, that kid is just incredible. He does the elephant. He is filled with personality. He's filled with joy. Oh man. I would like him to be here now. We'll have to capture some content. Maybe he'll be in our cooking videos.
True.
For our subscribers. But yeah, A+ personality, A+ gentleman. And I'll share with you my song of the week. It's called I've Tasted and I've Seen by Bachtel. Not to be confused with our cousins, Chad and Sarah Bechtel. Shout out the Bechtels. Shout out the Davis family. Shout out the Freeland family. Bachtel, however you desire to pronounce his name, he's a singer-songwriter, whereas Chad Bechtel is a car man. And
a successful car man.
He's a successful car man.
A car salesman. Not to
he
be
does
confused
not
with a car salesman.
cars. He does not sell cars, indeed. He fixes cars. And maybe I'm hinting at our next guest on the podcast. But keep an eye out for that. Listen to I've Tasted and Seen. Listen to Reba. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
No, I just think, buy some merch, subscribe. Like Bo said, we're across the hump now, so we've got a lot of momentum. We need more subscriptions so that we can do this thing big time, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And if subscriptions aren't your thing, you can do a one-time donation at Flobo.com, FLEAUBO.com. And always, your reviews make an impact. So if you can review us on your favorite listening platform or your least favorite listening platform, that would be great. And don't worry, we're going to see you in 7 days because we love you deeply and generously. And I'll share that again. We're going to see you in 7 days.